Bootstrap within your Vue app. Obviously, in any Vue application, you still need styling, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to use Bootstrap. It scales to different desktop sizes, mobile devices like phones and tablets. It's an excellent framework, which you probably already heard of and used, but it takes a little bit of a trick setting up in Vue sometimes, so we're just going to go over that. First of all, I like to start with a clean project, so we're just going to go Vue, create, Bootstrap, and we're just going to pause the video here while that installs. First, as always, we're going to pick Babel and ESLint, and then wait for that to install. Okay, next up we need to install Bootstrap and bootstrap-vue. Now that we have our basic VueJS installation finished, I'm just going to change directory into the directory here so it installs in the right place, and we're going to npm install Vue. We're going to install Vue, Bootstrap, Vue, and Bootstrap itself. And that should just take a moment to install here. And while that finishes, we can go ahead and go to our app.js and make a few changes, or main.js. So into our src folder, and we'll put it into main.js. And just a little side note here. When you're naming things, it's important to watch out for conflicts. As you can see, refusing to install package with the name Bootstrap under a package also called Bootstrap. Did you name your project the same as the dependency you're installing? So you need to be a little careful and choose a project name that is different from the dependencies you're going to install. So we're just going to go ahead and change that, fix that. I've reinstalled VueJS, this time just calling it test rather than Bootstrap. Okay, so we need to cd into test. And then again, we're going to install Bootstrap and bootstrap-vue using npm install bootstrap Vue and then Bootstrap itself. Okay, and this time it should all install fine. And we'll go over to our main JavaScript file, which I believe will just be called main.js in our default install here. And we're going to get ready to include those dependencies. Okay, into test, src, and then it's going to be main.js. And as you can see, it's finished. Thank you for installing bootstrap-vue. And they're asking for donations. Okay, so here we go. Main.js. So we're this is of course the main file that loads VueJS. Import Vue from Vue and import app from app.vue. Just the default settings there. But we're going to add a couple of things here. So we need to import bootstrap-vue from bootstrap-vue. Okay, and then we need to do a vue.use. Okay, and then that should be all that's needed to include the main component of Bootstrap. But we'll also have to include the actual CSS files as well for the various styling. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that because it's a little easier. Okay, and so then that will include those two files. And then we're going to save that and then go ahead and give our project a try. See if we get any errors. npm run serve, and we'll see if that works. And assuming it does, it's going to be available at localhost 8080. Okay, so now we've installed Bootstrap and we've included the CSS files and everything we need. And we have our basic VueJS application loading. Of course, we can't really tell if Bootstrap is working or not yet until we go and include some of the Bootstrap components. So let's go ahead and do that and see what happens. So for this, I'm just going to use app.js. Okay. So let's try div class alert, and we're going to use alert primary. Oops, I need to do this correctly here. Okay, alert primary and role equals alert. All right, and this is a primary alert. And then we're going to close our div and see if this works. Okay, let's go back and refresh our page, and as you can see, that works. This is a primary alert, and it's because it's showing these colors and sort of the default Bootstrap styling. Obviously, Bootstrap has been installed successfully. So maybe we'll go ahead and play with a few things while we've got this loaded. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Hello World component. I'm going to remove this alert here, and we'll make some changes in the Hello World component instead here. And I'm going to remove all the default text that came with Vue because we don't need all that extra stuff. Okay, save that and go back to make sure app.vue is saved. Okay, so now we've got just a blank thing with our blank page with our logo. Okay, so then let's go and figure out some different Bootstrap things to include. So that was the alerts we put earlier, but why don't we try something different? Maybe a button, because buttons are always an important part of any application. So basically, the thing that Bootstrap uses is just a class. So I'm just going to copy and paste these buttons, and we'll put those right into our Hello World component and see what happens. Okay, and as you can see, that worked. We now have all these buttons from Bootstrap, and most of the other components work pretty much the same way. Bootstrap-vue works pretty much the same way as Bootstrap does in WordPress or just in plain HTML. You can use most of these components just the same way. Sometimes you need to think a little bit about how you're going to include various code. You may want to separate things out, like I often put the model dialogues in separate files as separate Vue components, and then you may want to use those in multiple pages. So rather than having this model code within our Hello World component, say here, I'll get rid of these buttons. Rather than doing something like this and putting our model dialog right in there, what I would rather do is put that in a separate component. Oh, it's not set up to show that right now. But anyways, put that in a separate component and then send in various props, which are basically variables that you can pass in to then make that model dialog do what you need to do. And it becomes a reusable component that way. And that's one of the great things about Vue components, as well as other front-end frameworks, is that you can use them for multiple things, which means less maintenance down the road. If you can have a standard warning model dialog that you use throughout your application, that's way better than having 20 different ones when you go to have to change something. You just have to change it in one place and not 20 places, which reduces the number of bugs and regression as your application grows and moves forward. Anyways, that's about it for now. Thank you for watching, and that's how to use Bootstrap in VueJS.